You absolutely and completely have the ability to predict the future. Welcome to Build with Rob. It is your boy Rob Dyrdek. You know what it is. It's the show that I try to share my experiences, my philosophy to inspire you to live a harmonious, high-quality existence so that you can systematically fuse art, science, and magic in your own life. Because you know what happens when you do that? You manufacture an amazing life. You know, that's really what it's all about. You know, we're just trying to find joy in every single moment of our lives. We want to live a big life, and we want to find our success in our own version, in our own way. And in order to do that, you've got to design it, create it, get good at it, expand into it, evolve into the ideal version of yourself, living the ideal life. Thank you again to everybody that listens to the show. I really, really do appreciate it. Wherever you listen to it, like, subscribe, comment. Again, you want to see what's happening in our world outside of this show, check us out at social media, Rob Dyrdek, Dyrdek Machine. Hit us up at dyrdekmachine.com. Become a machinist, you know, get involved in our universe. Buy our incredible products, the portfolio of the Dyrdek Machine. Or just, you know, just be our friend. Just be our friend. Follow us on social. We can be friends. You know what I mean? Occasionally you'll see that I make a hot run on social. You know, like you'll be like, man, this guy's like living life. Then he goes dark, you know. I have not quite figured out how to be consistent for putting out organic social content yet. As you've heard me talk about many times on this show. So you never know what you're going to get. But I can tell you right now, some people could call me Robstradamus. That's right. Robstradamus. Because I have the ability to see into the future and see what is going to happen to a certain level of probability in my own reality. Right? And that's really what it's all about. Like when you're like trying to create anything, create a life, create a business, like you're really trying to apply all of these things that are happening to you, that you're learning from, into new and improved plans to create more probability that you'll have the outcome that you want in the future. You know, and when it comes to, you know, creating and designing a life, and that's really what it's about. You know what I mean? Like, you really want to begin to get really good at understanding, like, how to get better and better at not only predicting what the future might be, you know, and predicting what things you want to happen, but also creating systems that ensure the things that you don't control and that you have no control over will not affect you either, right? It's kind of like on the two sides of future probability. It's all the things that you can control, all the things that you cannot control. And you want to build a system that not only consistently guides you to the probable future that you would want to live, but also creating systems to protect you from things that could disrupt that probable future and or your life that you don't have control of. That's really one of the most important things and one of the greatest benefits of life design and really mastering time and energy, you know. And for me, you know, I would almost like break it down through the lens of, you know, you almost could say with certainty what you're going to do 30 seconds from now. And then it's slowly the probability of what's going to happen in the future slowly gets less and less over time, you know, and for some people, it's like straight up and down. I have no idea what's going to happen in a year, right? I have no idea what's going to happen in 6 months. I have no idea like what's going to happen in 3 months, and it's a part of a process of growing and evolving, and when you begin to design and build your life in a way that it's integrated together and beginning to grow, evolve, and expand in a harmonious way towards, the ideal life that you want, you will begin to be able to see further and further and further out into the future, with better and better probability, and again, I say a lot of times where, when I started, like, initially designing sort of my life, in 2014, 15, it was like, as far as I could see, of sort of what I would hope it would be. But when you haven't grown into it and expanded into it and begin to understand it more, the great reveal, if you will, to understand how you're going to build more thorough plans that's going to lead you to a more probable future, it's difficult. You know what I mean? It is hard to see further. It's real hazy when you look out and you're just getting started. So I don't want to overwhelm anybody of like, oh, that's just like, you can't predict. There's too many things that are out of control, and yes, in the beginning, that's the case. And then now your part of your design is ultimately, how am I going to add more probability and understanding and predicting what's going to happen in the future? And then if you do it for a long enough time, man, you can begin to see so far out. It's like, for me, I do my 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, and I have, really it's 1, 5, 15 year out planning. And I know like it is advanced, like, elevated being, like you've been on this road for so long that you like grew into a place that like you feel the need to share it with people, and you can see so far out, you know what I mean? So it is this sort of, not necessarily relatable, but I want to at least lay down the foundation to people to know that it's possible, and ultimately, most likely, if you continue on the path of evolving and growing into a life design, that you will understand exactly what it means, and you too will begin to see further and further and further, because you just begin to see like how long you want to do things, what you really enjoy doing. As life is changing, you're changing your long-term plans, while you grow into your short-term plans, right? So you keep guiding your evolution and guiding your growth towards the ideal life that you want to live, and again, like, if you want to like, end up predicting the future, you've got to design it. It's like, there's the great quote of like, you want to predict the future, create it, and that really is like how you actually can get better and better at making that knowingly and purposefully ending up in the position you want to be, experiencing life the way that you expected it to be, by the way that you predicted it would turn out many years into the future. And to me, when I think about, even the way that I design sort of my financial structure of like, okay, I'm going to take the high risk in the ventures, and I want to balance that with, having a real cash flowing real estate portfolio, that balances out each of them. This one can ride through the cycle and provides cash flow, and these are high risk but have this opportunity to create a ton of income. That was sort of my balance, but man, right in the middle, I like to keep 5 years of cash of my living expenses. Right? And most people will tell you, well, that's silly. Like, you have that much cash, it's worth less and less money if you don't try to invest it and grow it. But it's not about that for me, right? It's purely peace of mind, security, and ultimately the system that I want to use to protect myself from anything. And the pandemic was a really, really beautiful example of that, in the sense that rents of the buildings that I owned were in some sort of flux and question in the beginning. And, obviously, what was going to happen to a lot of the ventures was unpredictable. But my way of thinking, my personal harmony, and ultimately my energy in life was not disrupted because I had built the system to have the cash in the middle just in case something like a pandemic happened, right? And again, all that did was I could look out into the future knowing that, hey, I'm never going to be caught in a place where I'm like caught off guard or stressed from a financial point of view because of the way that I've designed sort of my investments or my cost of living or the different aspects of my life, and that's a really good example of like doing something in a much more safe way, in an effort to prevent some sort of unexpected thing to disrupt the rhythm of my life, and change the design of the future that I continue to design on an ongoing basis. And for me, it's like, that's an example on the protection side. And then when you think about like, wanting to be in shape and wanting to be more consistent and be more disciplined, and why, that gets designed into the rhythm. And then then I start tracking it, and start seeing how much more I'm doing it, but then putting it in the times, like I know that I'm going to do that a certain amount of percentage that's going to keep me in a certain level of health at a consistent basis, so I can look out into the future and with all probability know that I'm going to be really healthy and for a really long time. Right now, not saying that I can't get, something might disrupt that and swing that out like slightly, but for the most part, the odds are I'm going, because of the way that I design my life and my system and my time around tracking what I eat and working out and meditating and all of these things, with pretty clear probability, I know that I'm going to be healthy for a really long time, and then of course the beauty of life is the more you do that, the more you learn about yourself and your health as you expand and grow into life, and you just get healthier and healthier over time, and now, you can't say that you could get hit with like some disease or something out of nowhere, maybe. But at this point, I've grown into such a pace of like, doing blood work and doing all this stuff. And I'm about to start doing full body MRIs and all these things where, because I've created a health system and grown and evolved into it, now I'm even creating the tools to prevent and predict with probability that those things won't happen to me. And if they do, I would catch them so early, and it's again, just layering on that idea of the more you create with intention, both from a preventative side and what you want the future to be. In that case, that's the health versus, getting sick or something happening to it. To me, like unpredictable, you're still eliminating the variable at a way that you, with much more certainty, you can predict the future, and I only say it more to the idea of like it's part of the overall process, and one of the beauties of of living a life with intention and designing time and creating clear goals for the core aspects of your life and getting better and better at evolving and growing towards them and hitting those numbers and being fulfilled through sort of evolving and growing and hitting goals and milestones in your life. But the other side of it is you really begin to see how you're controlling your reality and ultimately the ability of predicting the future. And it grows throughout the process. As you begin to do it, you also end up looking at like, where are the places that I could put in backstops or things to protect myself so that in the future I'm not affected by this or it disrupts my overall vision and plan that I have for the future that I want to live. Basically making that even more probable. That's how it ends up working together. And you keep doing that, and you just keep applying it to as many different things as you can. I think, when you think about the Dyrdek machine and the machine method, it's a process for us to get more consistent at building companies. But at the end of the day, it is giving us a higher probability of success by developing a system and then optimizing the system and then getting better and better at doing it over and over. It really is just like increasing the probability of success through a process and through a system, and what happens as you begin to get better and better at like laying out a plan and achieving it and designing your goals, your life, whatever it may be, and growing into it, like it becomes more and more intuitive on how you can stay more consistent, how you can increase the probability, and when I think about the machine method, it's like, as we've done so many companies and began to evolve the way we look at opportunities and founders, you really begin to boil it down to those core factors of really how well you can assess the marketplace for that product, the design of the financial side of that product, and then who is the founder and the visionary and the operator to bring that thing to life. Through the whole process, if you look at those two, that's where the intuitive and deepest work needs to be done, because ultimately that is going to be the two factors that determine the probability of success in any venture that we do, and when you look at your life, you know what I mean? It's why that time design it is so important, and why looking at like the core aspects of the importance of that time design leads to the probable future that you're going to have, whether that is saving money on the financial side and eventually reaching your financial goals, if that's spending the right time and on your health and making sure that you have the energy and feel the right way, spending time with the right people, like spending time in the right career, all of these things that connect together to make up the harmony of your existence, you ultimately want to create in a way that where they are headed with a certain level of probability, and that probability in design is towards the ideal output, the goals you've set to yourself, and ultimately the harmonious, high quality existence that you want to achieve, and it's not a matter of like, guessing, right? Like you want to do as much as you can to stay away from the like, oh, I hope that this happens, right? Like it would be nice if this happens, and you want to stay away from like, well, I hope this doesn't happen. Well, this would be terrible if it didn't happen. It's back on that like matrix of a balanced mind where ultimately, your problem solving, experiencing, or creating is where all the action is taking place, and you don't want to get caught dwelling or hoping and wishing where no action is taking place. And it's the same way if you are now, rather than designing systems to protect yourself, worrying about that stuff not happening in the future, rather than taking the action to actually create a better future and predict it through growing and evolving and knowledge and optimizing your plan and ultimately your path forward to achieve that. That's where you can get to a place in your life that you are predicting the future on an ongoing basis, and it will start slow. In the beginning, you will be able to predict with certainty what you're doing in a week's time, you know what I mean? In a month's time, in a quarter time, in a year time. And it's not necessarily about predicting every outcome or knowing exactly what you're going to do. Because again, life is evolving, you're evolving, things are changing on an ongoing basis, but your continual assessment of the likelihood and the probability of the future becoming what you intend it to be, you can get better and better at creating your entire life forever, as long as you begin to design your life with intention and begin to live it. You can become your version of Robstradamus. You can be Joe Stradamus. You could be Johnny Stradamus, Kent Stradamus. Every single word that can be connected to Nostradamus, you know what I mean? And look, even go back and look at Nostradamus, because back when I was deep into my conspiracy theories, I would listen and watch to everything to do with that man. And man, he predicted everything so perfectly up to like 1994. And then because what did they do? In hindsight, they took all Nostradamus's words and shaped it into Hitler and like World War I and II, all these things. And then so all the stuff, then he peaked with excitement of like, oh, he knew everything. And then like 94 on, he never even came close. And that's why you don't even hear about the guy anymore. You know what I mean? He peaked in 94. He set off on his journey like 500 years ago, and that man peaked in 1994. All right, look, appreciate you all. As always, wherever you listen to the show, like, subscribe. Want to be a part of our universe, you know where it is, DyrdekMachine.com. All of our social handles, Rob Dyrdek and Dyrdek Machine. And what are we out here doing, man? We're laying out the vision to try to predict the future. We're making sure we're always problem solving, experiencing, or creating a plan and putting in that work to see it come alive. Until next time, see it, believe it, do it.